Let's get it. Hit the like button. Show some love to the fam. We here. Now, I'm here to prove to you that the state of California, and not just California, America has spent billions on illegal immigrants. Billions. And I'm saying this because it's true. You can do your own research, man. Tap in with us. We're not going to waste no time. Let's dive right into the conversation. Check this out. I want to show y'all something.
Gaslighting us on this issue of Medicaid funds going to illegal.
Shedding light on how dozens of criminal illegal migrants received Medicaid before their arrests and their deportations. White House spokeswoman Abigail Jackson telling Fox News Digital, quote, due to previously lax federal controls and Democrat state policies, criminal illegal murderers and rapists received Medicaid at the American taxpayers' expense. Joining us now is administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz. Dr. Oz, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ainsley. You know, the Democrats have been gaslighting us on this issue of Medicaid funds going to illegal immigrants for quite a while. When the president came into office, he insisted we take the fraud, waste, and abuse out of the system. And that's why the one big beautiful bill has provisions to do just that. The shutdown, as you know, is in part because the Democrats want to repeal that landmark legislation. And they keep claiming that there is no money going from Medicaid, an agency that I run, towards illegal immigrants. So we decided to do our homework. We sent our best investigators out to evaluate exactly what is going on. And I'm here to announce, Ainsley, and this is a big deal.
Now, let's be real. Most of our illegal immigrants come from Mexico because we share a border with Mexico, right? Now, when I said border hoppers, I was talking about the illegal immigrants. I wasn't calling all Mexican border hoppers. I was calling the illegal immigrants. The ones who come over here illegally, by definition, they are border hoppers. California was only Mexico for 27 years, and you sold it. California wasn't stolen, you sold it. Same with Texas. So if you cross the border illegally, by definition, you are a border hopper. I want y'all to watch and see how much money we spent on illegal border hoppers.
Just over the last few months, we have proven that there's been over $1 billion. That's a billion with a B. It's a lot of money. It's not around immigrants.
Check this out. Now, Sonny said it's not true. We spend billions on illegals.
So we decided to do our homework. We sent our best investigators out to evaluate exactly what is going on. And I'm here to announce, Ainsley, and this is a big deal, that just over the last few months, we have proven that there's been over $1 billion. That's a billion with a B. It's a lot of money. It's not a rounding error. $1 billion paid by U.S. taxpayers for illegal immigrants in about half a dozen states. And we're just getting started. So it's going to be a significantly more money than that. And just to break this down for everybody, Ainsley, if you live in Texas or Florida and you're paying U.S. federal taxes, most people do, your money is being diverted to places like California who have robust benefits for illegal immigrants, you know, dental, vision, things you don't even get on Medicare. And those funds we have no ability to track until today. Now we're investigating it, and we're going to continue to track this across the country.
So is that going to continue under the Trump administration? How can we stop this from happening?
Well, the legislation allows us to do just that. We are no longer obliged to pay for illegal immigrants in states that decide that they think are the largesse of their hearts. They want to fund those programs. If you want to fund full dental, vision, and robust health services in, for example, California or Illinois or New York or Minnesota, that's your choice. If you want to do that, you have to pay with your own state income tax. You can't use federal dollars for that. And so we are clawing that money back. Some of these states have already, they know they're guilty. They begin to pay the money back already. We will get all that money back into our federal coffers. The president is laser focused on protecting the U.S.
This fool said we ain't spend no bill. Nah, bro. California alone has spent billions on illegals. And if you want to add up all the illegals all across 50 states, my God, it's crazy. And then Sonny went on to say, no, the 14th Amendment was created for the slaves, the people who built the nation, not for not for illegal immigrants who want to come over here illegally to have anchor babies. It was not created for that. The president Donald Trump even broke that down. Like, nah, it wasn't created for people who cross the border illegally to have anchor babies. That's not why the 14th Amendment was created. It wasn't for that. And let's take it a step further. Mexicans did fight to be legally white in the 1930s. The truth can never be considered disrespect. If you look up the LULAC organization and you study what it is, was what's it, Jay Herrera? I forget his name. They fought to be legally white. And you can't prove me wrong. Look up the LULAC organization and Mexicans legally white. You would see that they fought to be white. So in the 1960s, when the Civil Rights Bill got passed, it only got passed because of foundational Black Americans. You can't fight to be legally white and then turn around and say, well, we fought for the civil rights of all people. Latinos didn't do that. Latinos fought for their own benefit. They didn't fight for all minorities like foundational Black Americans did. Get your facts straight, homeboy.
Taxpayer. But Ainsley, this raises a bigger issue. Why are we shut down? The people who should be doing these investigations, the folks who can solve some of the problems that we're having to improve the quality of care, for example, healthcare in this country, but many other services are being compromised by a shutdown that's based on false information. There is money being given to illegal immigrants on Medicaid. Again, Medicaid is designed for our most vulnerable, Ainsley. It's designed for our kids, for our elderly, folks who are struggling with significant health issues. They need those funds. You can't just dole that out to able-bodied illegal immigrants in states because they think it's the right thing to do. If they want to pay for it, they should pay for it.
Please send this memo, this study, to Chuck Schumer so that he sees what he's been saying, that they're not going to benefit, illegals are not going to benefit. That's not the case. We have the proof. Let's talk about MAHA, because Washington Post has this poll where there's bipartisan support from parents to crack down on processed foods and dyes and added sugars. But
all right, let's go here real quick. Hit the like button. It ain't nothing. That's just the truth. He called me racist. It's matter. He funny. Sonny want to call me a racist, but he the one who wants to march to stop us from getting reparations.
Here's a question. How much do taxpayers have to spend per year on illegals?
Do you want to know?
I do.
$182 billion a year. That's what we are spending on the illegal immigrants. How many? 15.5 million. And there are about 5.5 million kids that are U.S. citizens born here. It comes to $1,156 per tax-paying American, that according to the Federation for American Immigration Reform. Why is this a problem? Do the illegals pay taxes? Very little, about $30 billion a year. The national debt, $31 trillion, and these sanctuary cities are money magnets for all the benefits and the services that they have to, that we have to provide for the illegals.
Why is this not a bigger political issue for Biden? Why is it? I don't get it. Here's a question. How much do taxpayers have to spend per year on illegals?
Do you want to know?
I do.
$182 billion a year. That's what we are spending on the illegal immigrants. How many? 15.5 million. And there are about 5.5 million kids that are U.S. citizens born here. It comes to $1,156 per tax-paying American, that according to the Federation for American Immigration Reform.
There it is right there, man. I've been telling you. We are spending billions on illegal immigrants.
President Trump's executive ending birthright citizenship is on temporary hold after a federal
billions, homeboy. I don't have to make none of this up.
Very big designation. And as we are fighting hard to get birthright citizenship or automatic citizenship for the children of illegal aliens, that's another way. It's automatic citizenship for children of illegal aliens. That's the other term that they use, which is actually more accurate, more understandable. And actually more accurate, more understandable. And it's ridiculous. We're the only country that has it, and certainly the only country that has it to that extent. And it wasn't meant, if you look, it was really meant for children of slaves. This is when it happened. The children of slaves, it was not meant for everyone to come into our country or charging across the borders from all over the world and think they're going to become citizens. It's not meant for.
I just told you, man. Sonny said the Rasa fought for the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was not meant for no illegal people crossing the border. The 14th Amendment was meant for the slaves who built the nation. I'm going to play it again. So we already know that America has spent billions of dollars, our tax dollars, fund these illegal immigrants. But Sonny is the same one that said he wants to march to stop us from getting reparations. But he calls me the racist.
Accurate, more understandable. And it's ridiculous. We're the only country that has it, and certainly the only country that has it to that extent. And it wasn't meant, if you look, it was really meant for children of slaves. This is when it happened. The children of slaves, it was not meant for everyone to come into our country by airplane or charging across the borders from all over the world and think they're going to become citizens. It's not meant for that. It wasn't meant for that. And hopefully at some point the courts will understand that without having to go through a whole big deal. This was meant for the children of slaves. And look at the timing of it, and you'll see. And I hope judges will understand that. And it has to stop, because it's really hurting our country very badly in the coming weeks.
So you've seen it yourself.
Right is still right.
He just broke down what the 14th Amendment was meant for and who it was for. It was for the slaves, the people who built the country, not for illegal border hoppers. See, when I call somebody a border hopper, it ain't just Mexicans. If you cross the border illegally, then you are a border hopper. It don't matter what race you are. Calling somebody a border hopper is an action. That's not a racial slur. And yes, California has spent billions on illegals. The United States has spent billions on illegals. But according to Sonny, we benefit from having all these illegal border hoppers over here in our country. Somehow that's beneficial for us. Let me tell you something. You got corporations and companies who use these illegals because they work for cheap labor. That's the closest thing they'll ever get to slavery. That's why they allow so many of these people to come over. They wanted to save money, and they're using our tax dollars to fund these people. We're giving them medical, dental, housing, work permits. All of that stuff comes out of our taxes. I'm going to play it one more time.
California has set $9.5 billion on healthcare for undocumented immigrants this year. Now, before we get into this, I've just launched a new newsletter on Substack. The link to that is in my bio. I hope to see you there. The state's healthcare budget for undocumented residents has jumped from an initial $6.5 billion estimate to a $9.5 billion estimate, which is like a 46% increase. This comes as California faces a $30 billion budget deficit, which raises concerns about fiscal sustainability. Critics argue that spending adds an undue pressure on taxpayers and question the state's financial priorities, while supporters believe that ensuring healthcare access for all residents is both a moral obligation and an essential for public health. Just a reminder, the Substack link is in my bio, and click that follow button to stay up to date. California is set to spend $9.5 billion on healthcare for undocumented immigrants this year. Now, before we get into this, I've just launched a new.
And guess what? That comes out of our taxes. But according to Sonny, we're not spending that much on illegals. He wants to march and protest to stop our reparations. But he calls me the racist. I don't care what race you are, what color you are. If you cross the border illegally, by definition, you are a border hopper. So let's set the record straight with that.
Can't afford. Governor Gavin Newsom's office just got exposed for miscalculating the cost of free healthcare to illegal immigrants by almost 50%. And who caught them? Assemblyman Carl DeMaio, forcing them to admit the truth. They said it would cost $6.5 billion. Turns out it's nearly $10 billion. That's right, folks. While you struggle with paying your rent and filling your gas tank, and maybe you can't afford a medical plan, California's government is handing out free healthcare to illegal immigrants at your expense. Can someone please explain why Californians keep voting for the same people who insist on squandering your hard-earned money and running this state into the ground? If you voted for Governor Newsom, Alex Padilla, or Adam Schiff, I'm genuinely curious. What exactly have they done to improve your financial situation? Drop a comment below and let me know, because from where I'm sitting, it's looking like a whole lot of nothing. Here's what the governor had to say about the costs when this all began back in 2022. Take a listen.
In the state of California, we are positioned with this budget to be able to deliver on what we've been promoting: universal health care for all, regardless of pre-existing condition, regardless of the ability to pay, and regardless of your immigration status. But we presented yesterday a fully balanced. In the state of California, we're enjoying record surpluses, record reserves, paying down a record amount of unfunded healthcare liability. We're being wise with our investments, looking at one-time surpluses and one-time investments. At the same time, we're not neglecting people in the state that are vulnerable. I'll remind you, California is the 5th largest economy in the world, and while $614 million.
Did he just say $614 million? Was this his initial budget for this program?
$614 million in this budget year.
Now look at all this money we're spending on these illegal border hoppers. Right? So Sonny said if foundational Black Americans got a reparation, that would collapse our economy. We're spending billions on border hoppers, people who are not citizens, people who broke the law to come here, regardless of how you felt that we came here. But guess what? Foundational Black Americans didn't break the law to come to America. We built the country. Countless inventions. We didn't come over here illegally. You can't say the same for these border hoppers, though. They come over here illegally, and we spend billions of dollars funding these people. It comes out of your taxes. But according to Sonny, we're not spending billions on illegals. Man, please, look it up for yourself. We are spending billions on illegals.
A significant amount of money. California is well positioned to make that long-term investment. Number two, and it is true as well, that 2.2 is the full cost of annualization after full implementation, but $614 million general fund proposal in this year's fiscal budget.
That message directed at people like Republican Assemblymember Tom Lackey, who represents Kern County. He sits on the Budget Committee.
I think it's a dishonest proposal because it's giving false promises, and we're not even talking about the cost, which is the most glaring challenge that faces our public health care crisis.
According to the governor's proposal, it will cost taxpayers $2.7 billion a year.
Not even close. No, it's not even close to realistically covering what they're indicating it's going to cover.
It's why he wants the legislative analyst's office to run a cost analysis.
So my question is, and I think you've sort of answered it, despite the insolvency or projected insolvency of our healthcare system, the governor intends to fund $3.4 billion to provide healthcare for illegal immigrants. Is that correct?
Included in the budget and maintained in the budget is the expansion of Medi-Cal to all populations.
My concern is, I'd love to provide healthcare to everyone. We just can't afford it. Is there any limit to how many people can sign up for this new program? It's an entitlement. So if 1 million people cross the border tomorrow and come sign up for Medi-Cal, can they do that?
We've forecasted the number, the caseload, essentially every year we do that, and we will continue to do that going forward. In regards to eligibility, I don't believe there is any requirement or lack of requirement.
Yeah, that's my concern, is there's no limits, and it's going to create an incentive. We had 300,000 people cross the border illegally last month in December. That's only getting worse. It's not getting better. And if all those people decide to come to California and sign up for Medi-Cal, it's going to bankrupt the system. And more importantly, I hear from my constituents who have Medi-Cal, they can't get doctor's appointments. They're having a hard time getting procedures or seeing specialists that they need. And my question to the governor's office is adding 700,000 new patients into Medi-Cal going to help the system?
Sorry, I misspoke before in regards to...
See, I just proved to you how much money California, we're not even talking about other states. We're talking about California alone has spent billions on illegal border hoppers. I think I rest my case.
There's obviously income eligibility.
The 14th Amendment was created for the slaves, not for illegal border hoppers. Let's set the record straight. Latinos did not fight for the civil rights of all people of color. Black people, foundational Black Americans, we fought for the civil rights of all people of color, all minorities. We didn't just fight for ourselves. We fought for everybody who's a minority. That's a fact. Your people, Sonny, and I don't care who gets offended, Mexicans fought to be legally white in the 1930s. So you wasn't fighting against white supremacy. You fought to be a part of it. You didn't fight against it. And if you don't believe me, look up the LULAC organization and how they fought to be legally white. This is a known fact.
Required from Medi-Cal, so I would point to that. This governor, this legislature has been committed to expanding Medi-Cal, and I think we need to continue having those discussions about costs and how costs are being driven up going forward. Obviously, as we've discussed the out years, that this is a program that we need to continue to support and figure out how we're going to do that.
Can you look Californians in the eye and tell them that adding 700,000 illegal immigrants onto Medi-Cal is going to improve their access to health care? The citizens, the people paying taxes, is it going to improve their access to health care?
Again, this body has committed to the Medi-Cal expansion, and we look forward to having more conversations.
Thank you.
More conversations? That should be helpful. Watch how pained the governor is when trying to utter the word immigration.
We also want to maintain our healthcare expansion across the board, regardless of ability to pay, regardless of pre-existing conditions, and your immigration status.
Newsom and California Democrats are spending $5 billion this year to give free health care to all illegal immigrants. Keep in mind, the state is facing an almost $73 billion...
I want you to hear that again. The state of California alone has spent billions on illegal border hoppers. But according to Sonny, California ain't spent billions. You's a grown-ass man. You are ignorant. It is a shame that a 60-year-old man can be this ignorant. An uncomfortable governor can barely look at Californians in the eye and admit he's spending $5 billion for illegal immigrants' health care while cutting school funding. Let's take it back.
This governor, this legislature has been committed to expanding Medi-Cal, and I think we need to continue having those discussions about costs and how costs are being driven up going forward. Obviously, as we've discussed the out years.
So what you gonna say now, Sonny? Nah, that's not true, S.A. Nah, it's very true. I got the documents. I got the facts. California is only one state, and Cali has spent billions on these border hoppers, but he got a problem with us getting reparations. He said the Rasa, they need to march to stop our reparations, but at the same time, in the meantime, we are spending billions of dollars funding these damn illegal border hoppers. That's crazy.
This is a program that we need to continue to support and figure out how we're going to do that.
Can you look Californians in the eye and tell them that adding 700,000 illegal immigrants onto Medi-Cal is going to improve their access to health care? The citizens, the people paying taxes, is it going to improve their access to health care?
Again, this body has committed to the Medi-Cal expansion, and we look forward to having more conversations.
Thank you.
More conversations? That should be helpful. Watch how pained the governor is when trying to utter the word immigration.
We also want to maintain our healthcare expansion across the board, regardless of ability to pay, regardless of pre-existing conditions, and your immigration status.
Newsom and California Democrats are spending $5 billion this year to give free health care to all illegal immigrants. Keep in mind, the state is facing an almost $73 billion deficit, which means we're broke. To balance the budget, they've identified some cuts that they can make. Sadly, they're proposing to cut $500 million to school facilities. Spend $5 billion for illegal immigrant health care while cutting $500 million from school facilities? Are you kidding me?
Californians should be outraged. The state is going broke. Taxes keep going up, and yet billions are being funneled into programs that prioritize non-citizens over you. So here's the real question. Why? Why do Californians keep voting for this guy? If you've got an answer, drop it in the comments. And what's next? If history is any indication, California will just keep burning through your tax dollars like a bottomless pit of wasteful spending.
So I think I proved it, man. Sonny gonna say, no, that's not true, S.A. Watch. That's what he gonna say. Now I'm gonna show you how Mexicans was once considered legally white. I'm gonna prove this to you. And the truth can never be disrespectful facts. I just showed you how the 14th Amendment was meant for foundational Black Americans, not for illegal border hoppers. Check this out.
Did you know that Mexicans were once considered legally white and that we were not protected against discrimination under the law? But that changed with the landmark Supreme Court ruling Texas versus Hernandez in 1954. 3 years earlier, in 1951, Pete Hernandez, a young Mexican-American cotton picker, was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison by an all-white jury. This was common in Jackson County, Texas, where not a single person with a Spanish last name had served on a jury in more than 25 years. Hernandez's lawyers, Gus Garcia, Carlos Cadena, John J. Herrera, and James de Anda, argued that
John J. Herrera said Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race. I've showed you several videos of the LULAC organization, and these are the same people that Sonny tried to name. These people fought to be legally white. They didn't fight for the civil rights of all minorities and people of color. They did not. I repeat, Mexicans fought to be legally white through the LULAC organization. They didn't fight to get civil rights for all minorities and people of color. Now, when foundational Black Americans fought for civil rights, everybody that was non-white, all minorities, people of color, benefited from our struggle. That's the major difference, Sonny. But I get it. You're 60 and ignorant.
his constitutional rights had been violated, since Mexicans had been systemically excluded from serving on the jury. The state of Texas said that because Mexicans were white, Pete had been tried by a jury of his peers, and there was no discrimination. Tune in to part 2 tomorrow to hear what happened when the case was taken to the Supreme Court. Did you know that Mexicans were once considered legally white and that we were not protected against discrimination under the law? But that changed with the landmark Supreme Court ruling Texas versus Hernandez in 1954. 3 years earlier, in 1951, Pete Hernandez, a young Mexican-American cotton picker, was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison by an all-white jury. This was...
All right, let's go to the next video.
It was back to like all the way back to like the state's invasion of Mexico, because Mexico was colonized twice, first by Spain and then by the United States. And when the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which then the U.S. stole like half of what the United States is used to be part of Mexico, and as part of the treaty, Mexicans who were now living in that territory were given U.S. citizenship. But at that time, in the Congress, there were laws that said that only free white people could be citizens. So here comes Mexicans who are not white, who most of them were not white. I mean, there were some Mexicans that were, Spanish, Spaniards that were born in Mexico and they were now called Mexicans, who were white. But the majority of the people who were quote unquote acquired in that territory were labeled white. And that, when I go back to it, I'm like, that created such a host of issues because uno se las creyeron. Like, uno se la creyeron, los que no se la creyeron continually have sought whiteness as a way to advance, as a way of economic
And not
mobility.
just Mexicans, all Latinos labeled themselves white. If you go to Latin American countries, a lot of Latinos label themselves white because they feel like they'll get more benefits being white and they'll face less discrimination if they claim to be white. So you did not fight. You didn't fight for the civil rights of minorities. You fought to be legally white. And once you realize that white people would never accept you, that's when they started calling themselves brown and people of color. But prior to that, Mexicans and Latinos fought to be legally white. I promise you.
Se la creyeron. Like, uno se la creyeron, los que no se la creyeron continually have sought whiteness as a way to advance to it. I'm like, that created such a host of issues of the people who were.
And this is a Mexican woman too, in respect to her, because she's being honest. They fought to be legally white because they felt like they would get more benefits. They won't face as much. They won't face so much discrimination if they'll just consider themselves to be white. And that's exactly what Mexicans did. So don't get it twisted for 1 second. Mexicans never fought for the civil rights of all minorities. They fought to be legally white. Foundational Black Americans fought for the civil rights of all people of color, fought for the civil rights of all minorities. Latinos only fought for themselves. They fought hard to be embraced by white people. They wanted, in other words, they wanted white acceptance.
Quote unquote acquired in that territory were labeled white. And that, I mean, when I go back to it, I'm like, that created such a host of issues because uno se las creyeron, like uno se la creyeron, los que no se la creyeron continually have sought whiteness as a way to advance, as a way of economic mobility, as a way to protect themselves from racism and discrimination. It has never worked out to try to veil ourselves under whiteness. But that's like partly where it comes from, is all the way back to then, all the way back to Mexicans being an unwanted bounty of war, because the way that the border was drawn and the land that the United States acquired or stole from Mexico was specifically drawn so that they would get the most amount of land with the least amount of Mexicans, because they viewed those Mexicans as a problem.
Mexico wasn't stolen, they sold it. I mean, excuse me, they sold California. That's the reality. Now, we have already proved to you that Mexicans did fight to be legally white. The truth is never disrespectful. It just is what it is. They fought to be legally white. I can't make this up. You know, they said, okay, we don't want to be treated like black people, so we'll fight to be legally white and hopes to get more opportunities. But once they realize that white people will never truly accept them for being white, they say, okay, now that black Americans got the civil rights movement cracking, we'll just be brown people. We'll be people of color to reap the benefits from the civil rights movement. But don't get it twisted for 1 second. In the early 1900s, Mexicans and Latinos fought to be legally white. These are documented facts. If you don't believe me, study the history. These are documented facts. We ain't never fought to be white folks as black Americans in this country. We understood that we were different. We never fought to be we never fought to be legally white. We never even tried that. And they're gonna say, oh, this is racist. No, what's racist is you firebombing houses of black people. Watch, I want you to see this, how Latinos fight to be legally white in the census. And I'm not making this up.
Let's talk a bit more about your undercover work and your work with white supremacists.
Check this out right here.
More Hispanics are identifying themselves as white. That's according to a new census numbers released today. The report estimates 1.2 million of the 35 million Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish Americans changed their race to white in the latest census.
I told you, they already, listen, homeboy, I'm not making this up. Listen very carefully. You got Latinos today who identify as whites.
More Hispanics are identifying themselves as white. That's according to a new census numbers released today. The report estimates 1.2 million of the 35 million Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish Americans changed their race to white in the latest census. Research suggests Hispanics who have experienced discrimination are less likely to identify as white.
So it's a known fact that California did spend billions on illegal immigrants. We spend billions. That's just California alone. If you add up the rest of the states in this country, you will say, wow.
Brave human that shares certain distinctive physical traits.
Hi, I'm Christina Aru with another episode of Catalina Stars Young and Famous.
If you ask young podcaster Christina Aru her race.
At first, I only knew I was Cuban. And then when I learned I was Latina, I did not know, like, I thought that meant I couldn't be Cuban anymore.
You won't hear her say white, black, and Pacific Islander because in the race box, many Hispanics and Latinos are lost.
We're not a race. We are so different, and that's the problem too. We are so many countries, and you're trying to just bottle us up.
Christina's mom, Kathy Aru, a journalist and founder of Latina magazine Catalina, has battled with this topic since she started the magazine 10 years ago.
I called it Catalina because there was such a controversy on what to label ourselves. So I went with my name, Catherine, in Spanish.
The word Hispanic refers to those who are from a Spanish-speaking country, but Latino or Latina includes people from countries in Latin America who speak Spanish, Portuguese, or other indigenous languages. Often the two terms are mistakenly used interchangeably, yet the words Hispanic and Latino identify an ethnicity, not a race.
So when it comes to the data collected, we have limited options. When we think about the race, we are either white, black, Asian American, Native American. We can choose one of those races, while Hispanic, Latino becomes an ethnicity. And I think that's where we struggle, many of us, is where do we fit in?
In some cases, choosing ethnicity is not even an option on data collection forms, and identifying race and ethnicity gets more complex in many cases. Hispanics and Latinos can identify as white or black as well. But what happens when you're in between?
My 11-year-old found a mug that had, it was a coffee mug, café con leche, and there were different colors. It went from pale to darker, and it depends how much milk you add to your coffee. And that's how we've been able to explain our colors in our family. But there are no boxes for that.
Dr. Cristobal.
Make sure that you guys bless that like button. Bless the like button. And yeah, hype the video. Hey, I told you I was going to come with the hard-hitting facts.
Salinas believes new words need to be introduced to the race box.
But I think we will eventually become a race. It's just a matter of time and who is making that decision for us.
And today I'm going to be interviewing a Latinx skateboarder, Steven Pinheiro.
If these simple words matter, it's going to take Hispanics and Latinos using their voices to make the change. I'm Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
All right, now let's go over here real quick. Hit the like button. Yeah, I told you, man. County has spent billions on illegals. Don't let these people lie to you, bro. Don't let them lie to you.
You spoke about how you went, I think, to a DMV or something, and how you told someone that you wanted to like become, I think, a writer, and how they like laughed at you. Something like that, along those lines. I'm probably missing a lot of information, but
yeah, little details, but more or less.
So basically, I'm Giselle, and I'm Mexican, and so like growing up, like I had a lot of like, I guess you could say like culture shock later in life because of that, right? So the thing is, I think I have seen like, I feel like I actually learned a lot about like my roots and everything. What I wanted to say is, so I know that like a big thing in our culture is colorism, right? Like that's a common thing, right? And so basically what happened is like about a month ago, I live in like a really like sunny state. So it's like 100 degrees, like where I live, right? Like in the summertime. And I work from home, so I don't go out. But there was this one day that we went to the beach, right? Like me and some people. I come back, it was like this woman, and she has like a really negative kind of like point of view. Like she's just one of those people that you have to like watch out for, because you can just tell like their vibes, the way they are. Like I noticed that she was like looking at me, and I was like, hi, like how are you doing? Like, and she also like said hi, and then she was like, oh my, like in Spanish, but in English she was like, oh my gosh, like you're so like you're so dark, but like in a very bad way. I was honestly, I didn't even say anything because I was like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like I'm
Shout out to David J for the Cash App. Shout out to Eric for blessing us with the Cash App as well.
not here to like lecture people, and like it's not my thing, but like I was so off guard. But I had seen like all the TikToks, and I noticed how like a lot of people that say stuff, it's like projecting, right? And the thing is, you know, this lady who told me that her natural skin tone is like honestly 10 times darker than me. So I just didn't say anything, but it was like one of those things where it's like it happened to me like later in life, but I heard so many people talking about like how growing up they're compared to their siblings, and like it happens to them.
I've experienced things like that too, where I remember when I was a kid, probably preteen, and a cousin of mine that I hadn't seen for like 2 years, we met up in the summer right before school, and she see me and she says, like, damn cousin, you got hella blacker. You could tell based on the way it said that it's like it's to be ashamed of. to get darker,
Yeah.
to be dark. First of all,
Yeah.
just to be dark in general, right? But the fact
Mhm.
that you and I are considered dark skin in our culture, right? The fact that you and I are born this skin is already like, damn it. But if we don't make an effort to avoid the sun and allow to get darker, it's like,
Yeah.
damn, bro, like, why aren't you like taking care of yourself by like staying all away from the sun so you don't have to get darker, you know?
And I just remembered there was actually one other person that
See, now, Dale, I can respect that. We know that's in the culture, man. It's just in the culture.
White Mexicans in Wakanda forever at this point. However, if you go to Mexico and you open up a Mexican magazine, you're not gonna see somebody that looks like me. You're gonna see white folks, white men.
See, he's telling you how whitewashed Mexico is. That's why when you look at their politicians, they're white-looking Europeans. The indigenous people of Mexico don't call the shots in politics. So, come on, homie. I got the receipts to prove everything I'm saying.
However, if you go to Mexico and you open up a Mexican magazine, you're not gonna see somebody that looks like me. You're gonna see white folks, white Mexicans. In Wakanda Forever, when Tenoch Huerta played Namor or Kukulkan, what was the reaction of Mexican media because a indigenous brown-skinned man was the representation of Mexico? What was it?
Oh man, it was horrible. It was horrible. Like honestly, like I was not even interested in watching the movie. But the stuff that I was seeing online, the whole fact that, you know, he's Mayan.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of outlash from the upper white class to where the impact they made positively was for us.
Yeah.
Watch the movies, the ones that are dark skinned. And one thing that they were driving him around, I think it was Mexico City, I forgot what city he was in. But they were driving him around and a lot of the graffiti artists were doing murals of him. And what a lot of people don't understand that in the hood or in the ghettos or in the barrios, wherever you're from, having a mural of you, it means that you're somebody to the hood.
Yep.
It means somebody for the underdogs.
Yep.
And you see his reaction, he started tearing up because he knew that was more important than any award he could get. And to me, I think it's one of them things that, like, the ones that didn't like it, those were haters. The ones that were nitpicking at it. And the ones that we never seen somebody like him be in that role, we embrace. Bro, I tear up going to Walmart and seeing his toy on the shelves. Why? Because he was a brown-skinned guy, and more than anything, he was from Mexico. Like, screw Coco, Speedy Gonzalez. You know, like, this is legit hero that a lot of kids that have issues with their color of skin are gonna look up to.
Here comes a brown-skinned indigenous man from Mexico to represent Mexico on a big screen. And as a result, the Mexican says, that is not the proper representation of Mexico. And I think to myself, so if not an indigenous looking brown man, what exactly is then the proper representation of Mexico? Well, for this whole time, up until Tenoch Huerta, up until Namor, Kukulkan, what has been the proper representation of Mexico? A white man. So, although I agree fully with you that at this point we shouldn't be ignorant, there is a systemic effort to keep us ignorant, because the fact that Mexican media had a problem with what represents Mexico on the big screen with a brown face, an indigenous man, says a lot about what Mexico is attempting to systemically represent. I agree 100% with you that there should be no excuse to be ignorant, but there is a whole machine making sure that, as Denzel Washington said, if you don't watch the news, you're uninformed. If you watch it, you're misinformed.
They are right. That's not the representation of Mexico. Here's why. Because Namor represents Mexico before it was conquered.
Of course. Of course.
So, of course, he's not going to represent what Mexico is, because Namor is taking it back to before we were colonized. So yeah, they're absolutely right. He does not represent the Mexico that it is today. He represents the Mexico that was there before it got conquered, got stripped away. So yeah, they are right. They are correct. That's not the real Mexico, or the Mexico of today.
So, coming back in full circle, and that is why we are in the condition of calling each other the No Sabo Kid. Because the representation of Mexico is supposed to be the Spaniard. Spanish speaking, white. So now we're here saying to each other, you don't speak Spanish? Oh, then you're not a real Mexican. So that's the reason why the media, that doesn't represent Mexico. That's not the proper representation of Mexico. Yeah, you're right. If you consider Mexico conquered by the Spaniard, and what's supposed to represent Mexico is now the Spaniard. So yes, I 100% agree with you. Now that is why I say there is a whole systemic effort to make sure that you and I don't know who we are. The No Sabo kids. Somewhere along the lines, we Mexicans and or Chicanos raised or born in this country are being made fun of or rejected by Mexicans from Mexico because we either don't speak Spanish or speak it very poorly, and we are known as the No Sabo kids. Now, here's the interesting part to me. Spanish is not the native language of Mexico. Spanish was forced onto the native people of Mexico. The reason why we speak Spanish is because it was forced onto us by the Spaniards that arrived. So, the fact that we've arrived to the point where we are humiliating each other, making fun of each other, and even rejecting and or excluding our own people because we can't speak Spanish, meaning the language of our colonizer, of the people who did their very best to us, and we've come up with a phrase, the No Sabo kids. I'm thinking this is the result of lacking so much education as a whole people. It makes me so sad to see that we are in a way hating each other because we cannot speak the language of our colonizer. This term, No Sabo kid, oh my God, it irks me to the bone. It burns, because not that we should make fun of anybody at all for not speaking a language, but if you must create some kind.
See, this guy right here is being honest about how a lot of Latino countries, Spanish speaking countries, Latin America, a lot of those people fought for white acceptance because felt like being looked at as a person of color will keep them in poverty. They'll be considered, a group of people with no privileges because they are melanated. So this is why so many Latinos fought to be legally white. They felt like that would give their people more opportunity. So they said, okay, we'll just be white, not realizing that whites will never accept you. And when they found out that whites would never accept them, then a lot of them start calling themselves people of color. But prior to that, don't get it twisted. They fought to be legally white, man.
Issue of why native people of these lands
can't speak a language, it should be our indigenous language. Why aren't we saying to each other, hey, you're a no Nahuatl kid, a no Mixtec kid, a no Zapotec kid? But no, we say to each other, no Sabo kid, as if we should be obligated to speak Spanish. Why should we be obligated to speak Spanish? That in itself is contributing to the ongoing ethnic cleansing. As if we don't even know what we really are. We know we're indigenous. Some of us, unfortunately, ashamed of it, but we know that we are. But yet, we can't really pinpoint exactly which tribe. And now yet, we're here making fun of each other and or excluding each other because we can't speak Spanish? My.
So what's going on, man? What is going on? You heard it first. So you guys get it. I think I didn't share it enough. Make sure that you guys support the channel. It is what it is. Frank Nitty. What's poppin', Frank Nitty? You know what I mean? Mobius Primal. Too Subliminal. Oh man, we got to continue to do this. You got a guy by the name of Musty Vision TV that's been leaving comment after comment. It's like, Musty, nobody watches your channel. Then Sonny got the nerve to say, oh man, I know you want me to say, Sonny, I don't need you to say my name. If Sonny did a live stream right now, he would get 10 people in there. So why do I need somebody like that to say my name? Musty Vision TV can't even get 1,000 views per video, and he got 44,000 subscribers. Musty Vision been leaving comments on my page every day, just begging for attention. It's like, Musty, why don't you find a way to get 1,000 views per video instead of wasting your time trolling my comment section? I did a live stream about you to show the people how pathetic you actually are, how much of a Sambo you actually are. That's why I did the live stream about you. But trust and believe, I won't be talking about you. I don't need to talk about you. Get lost, Musty Vision TV. You got 44,000 subscribers, and you can't even get 500 views per video by the grace of God. If you got 44,000 subscribers and you can't even get 500 views per video, then that says a lot about your weak channel. Your channel is trash. Stop trolling my comment section and find a way to get at least 500 per video on that whack ass channel of yours. Trolling my comment section ain't gonna get your views up, brother. Well, sucker, and I don't mean to call you brother, I mean sucker. Oh man. Yeah, man. Musty Vision TV can't even get 5 views with 44,000 subscribers. How pathetic is that? And you talk about being pathetic. My goodness. Anyway, man, make sure that you guys bless the like button, support the channel when you slide through. Because, hey, man, who gonna speak for us like me? You got a few people who stand up for the culture, who stand for the people. It's a handful of us. But guess what, man? I've been doing it consistently, speaking up for the people. Yeah, Musty Vision TV. 44,000 subscribers and can't even get 500 people to watch this video. That's crazy work. Now, that's crazy work. Exactly. That's the best way you could have said it. So we just proved our point that California has spent billions of dollars on illegal immigrants. And Sonny claimed that that wasn't true. He claimed that it wasn't true. Whenever you guys get time, click in. California spends billions on illegal immigrants, and you're going to see tons of videos, and they're going to break down all the money that the state of California alone has spent on border hopping. Shout out to Davo. That makes sense. That makes sense that he's engaged or married to a Chicano woman because he capes for that community so hard. It makes sense. Musty Vision TV got knee pads on, slurping up the Chicano community, begging for human DNA. That's how nasty and pathetic he is. Musty Vision TV got knee pads on, begging the Chicano community for human DNA. Slurp, 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 slurp. Yeah, I called him a brother on accident. Nah, he ain't a brother. He's a sucker. Let's set the record straight. Begging the Chicano, Musty Vision TV on his knees, slurping, begging the Chicano community, looking, just begging to extract human DNA. From a male Chicano that's standing in front of him, and he's on his knees just begging, looking to extract human DNA. Just sad and pure pathetic. Oh man, you would think out of all that caping and slurping he been doing to the Chicano community, you would think they would watch his video to the point to where he could at least get 1,000 views per video. How you gonna slurp? How you gonna you've been on your knees for the Chicano community for years and you still can't get 1,000 views per video. So what does that tell you? The Chicano community, they're not even watching his videos like that. You know what Musty Vision TV said to me in my comment section? He said, man, you did a live stream, man, and you only had one person support the super chat. I said, that's all right, because the video still gonna get over 1,000 views. It's gonna get a few thousand. And guess what? People gonna hit the Cash App. People gonna support the PayPal. Even if you don't see people supporting in a live chat, the Cash Apps I get is gonna make up for that. So that lets you know that people rock with the content. And let me tell you something, Sonny. Sonny called me racist, but he's the one that said he's gonna march and protest to stop us from getting reparations. So it's okay for us to spend billions of dollars on illegal border hoppers, but it ain't cool for foundational Black Americans to get reparations. And he got the nerve to call me a racist. That is one ignorant old man. That is one ignorant old man. Then he tried to say that the Rasa had something to do with the 14th Amendment. They had nothing to do with that. They came later. The 14th Amendment for foundational Black Americans, that goes all the way back to the 1800s. The Rasa community tried to do something in the the Rasa community tried to do something in the 1900s, but guess what? The 14th Amendment was created for the slaves, the people who built the nation, the people who gave this country hundreds of years of free labor with countless inventions. Donald Trump said it himself. The president said it himself. The 14th Amendment was for the slaves, the people who built the nation, not for illegal border hoppers. It wasn't for the 14th Amendment was not for illegal border hoppers who came here to dump anchor babies for birthright citizenship. No, no, no. It was never for that. But according to Sonny, immigrants make our country better. And if you look up illegal immigrants and check out all the money we spend on them monthly and yearly, you will say, wow. But according to Sonny, illegal immigrants benefit our economy. The 14th Amendment is clear. It wasn't for illegal border hoppers. Donald Trump broke it down himself. If you cross the border illegally, by definition, you are a border hopper. That is not a racial slur. I'm calling you out for an action. We're going to get into that again. Hold on one second. Yeah, he tried to say, man, he tried to say, man, FBA ain't rocking with your channel like that. They ain't supporting your channel. That's what he tried to say. He tried to say, y'all ain't rocking with me and y'all don't be supporting the channel. That's what Musty Vision TV said in my comments. That's what Musty Vision TV said. They ain't rocking with you like that. Yeah. Let's go. Let's show Donald Trump again, break down what it is. We know the 14th Amendment was created for FBA. It wasn't created for illegal border hoppers to have anchor babies for birthright citizenship. No, no, no.
California is set to spend $9.5 billion on healthcare for undocumented immigrants this year. Now, before we get into this, I've just launched a new newsletter on Substack. The link to that is in my bio. I hope to see you there. The state's healthcare budget for undocumented residents has jumped from an initial $6.5 billion estimate to a $9.5 billion estimate, which is like a 46% increase. This comes as California faces a $30 billion budget deficit, which raises concerns about fiscal sustainability. Critics argue that spending adds an undue pressure on taxpayers and question the state's financials, while supporters believe that ensuring healthcare access for all residents is both a moral obligation and essential for public health. Just a reminder, the Substack link is in my bio, and click that follow button to stay up to date.
Did you know that Mexicans were once considered legally white and that we were not protected against discrimination under the law? But that changed with the landmark Supreme Court ruling Texas versus Hernandez in 1954. 3 years earlier, in 1951, Pete Hernandez, a young Mexican-American cotton picker, was...
See, Latinos tried to latch themselves onto the 14th Amendment. But when you go back to the 1800s, because slavery was abolished in the 1800s, 1865 to be exact, in the United States of America, the 14th Amendment was for us. We fought in the Civil War. The Buffalo Soldiers is the reason that the North defeated the South. You don't believe me? Look up the history of the Buffalo Soldiers, which were black men, FBA men. The 14th Amendment was not created for illegal border hoppers, not for people who crossed the border illegally. The 14th Amendment was not for that.
Convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison by an all-white jury. This was common in Jackson County, Texas, where not a...
Hit the like button, you know.
Welcome to Global Reference News, Inside America. I'm reporting. Donald Trump said something very peculiar last night in his speech when he said the 14th Amendment wasn't created for illegal immigrants. It was created for the descendants of slaves. Let's take a look at that clip.
And as we are fighting hard to get birthright citizenship or automatic citizenship for the children of illegal aliens, that's another way. It's automatic citizen for children of illegal aliens. That's the other term that they use, which is actually more accurate, more understandable. And it's ridiculous. We're the only country that has it, and certainly the only country that has it to that extent. And it wasn't meant, if you look, it was really meant for children of slaves. This is when it happened. The children of slaves, it was not meant for everyone to come into our country by airplane or charging across the borders from all over the world and think they could become citizens. It's not meant for that. It wasn't meant for that. And hopefully at some point the courts will understand that without having to go through a whole big deal. This was meant for the children of slaves. And look at the timing of it, and you'll see, and I hope judges will let. And hopefully at some point the courts will understand that without having to go a whole big deal. This was meant for the children of slaves. And look at the timing of it, and you'll see, and I hope judges will understand.
I think he makes a whole lot of sense. When you look at the context of the 14th Amendment, illegal immigrants, or the people we have here from these nations, weren't even thought of. They weren't even a foresight when they were creating it. They were creating it because back then, black people or slaves didn't have rights. We weren't even considered human. We weren't considered Americans or citizens. So to change all that, they amended the Constitution with the 14th Amendment, which gave automatic citizenship rights to the descendants of slaves. That's what it was made for, and that's what it should be stuck to in context of even today, even though we don't have slavery anymore. You can't apply something like that to somebody who just crossed the border illegally and wants to drop an anchor baby. But what say you? Maybe you have a different thoughts in the comments. Follow at www. Which gave automatic, because back then black people or slaves didn't have rights. We weren't even considered human. We weren't considered Americans or citizens. So to change all that, they amended the Constitution with the 14th Amendment, which gave automatic citizenship rights to the descendants of slaves. That's what it was made for, and that's what it should be stuck to in context of even today, even though we don't have slavery anymore. You can't apply something like that to somebody who just crossed the border illegally and wants to drop an anger baby. But what say you? Maybe you have a different thoughts in the comments. www.globalreferencenews.com.
The 14th Amendment was not for illegal border hoppers. I don't care what country you come from. If you cross the border illegally, by definition, you are a border hopper. 100%. That is not a racial slur. That is an action. I am judging you based on an action. You cross the border illegally, so that makes you a border hopper. I don't care what country you come from.
For more interesting stories, not only here in America, but around the world.
We're going to wrap this one up, man. I need you guys to bless the like button. It ain't nothing. We're going to get out of here, man. I'll be back at you guys in the morning with some more content. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. Musty Vision TV, you're gonna get ignored, bro. Why don't you focus on getting 500 views per video? I just started dropping content on this channel back in October. This is a brand new channel, and I get way more views than you on that dusty ass channel that you got over there. Seriously. Do yourself a favor and build your channel and stop trolling the comment section. So peace to everybody that's been rocking. I appreciate you all. I got to get up out of here. I'll be back in the morning with some more content. You already know how we do. It's King Supreme back in the game. I'm gone. Peace. Blessings. Shout out to everybody.